You are. Can I wake up now, please? You were dreaming, before. So you said. I want to know what you were dreaming about, Charlie. Can't remember. I can help you with that. That's why we're here. In the place between sleep and the waking world. Now you're getting it. Did I mention I'm scared? Even though you can't feel anything? Okay, I think I'm scared. I think therefore I am. Huh? Charlie, I need you to concentrate. I need you to remember your dream. Why? Because I believe that dream has a memory you can't quite reach. And it's the one that is shaping what you are, or what you could be if you let me help you unlock it. It's buried deep in your subconscious and I think it could make you a good collector. Collector of what? Later, I need you to remember that forgotten moment. Why? Oh, wait, I think I asked that already. Am I repeating myself? It's hard to remember anything out here. I need you to remember, because I can't remember mine. That moment, that event that triggered all this. Afterlife. Huh? Forget it, it's not important. Now, come on, tell me what you were dreaming about. Can't. Why? No, hang on. That's it, I'm getting a summer's day, children's laughter. How? Concentrate, Charlie. Randall, stop. I can't remember. You already have, pal. Yes, that's it, I've got it now. Discombobulated. Huh? That's how I feel. Or think I feel. One thing's for sure, if I could feel anything right about now, it would be a big fucking headache. It'll be over soon. Yep, tuned in now. Say Charlie? Yeah? Wanna see something really cool? Randall. To be honest, you fucking freak. I'd be glad to see any fucking thing at all right about now. Cool or otherwise. Can't argue with that. Oh, and Randall? Yeah, Charlie? Sorry about that fucking freak crack. It's just that I'm discombobulated, yeah I know. Yeah. Fair enough. Something now, Charlie could hear faint voices, drifting towards him from out of the darkness. Definitely voices that he was sure are no longer in his head. Voices being carried on a light breeze which he could feel caressing his face and blowing through his hair. He could feel it. No light as yet, just blessed sound and feeling. He raised a hand and ran it through his hair where the breeze had touched it and was grateful to feel it slipping through his fingers. The air was filled now with the sound of children playing, still some way off in the darkness but getting louder as he listened. And he could smell the slight hint of a summer's day, which grew stronger second by second, the unmistakable scent of freshly cut grass mixed with the smell of half a dozen types of flowers, none of which he could name. The children were shouting excitedly, "Run, run!" Followed by a peal of grown-up laughter. The breath caught in Charlie's throat as more shouts and laughter erupted, tears sprang instantly to his still sightless eyes. He didn't need to see the children to know who they were. This was a scene he had revisited many times before in dreams. A lost moment of happiness from years ago. "You're out!" A girl shouted. "Kate!" Charlie breathed. Then a boy protesting, "No way!" Followed by more laughter. 12-year-old Charles Walker Jr., bowled out at cricket by his sister. Voices from the past, made all too real somehow. "Oh, God," he choked. "This can't be." Laughter, grown-ups joining in the fun. Charlie recognized his Uncle Benny's voice jokingly telling him not to worry, that he wouldn't tell anyone he'd just been bowled out by a girl. Then a ripple of applause for his sister. "How?" was all Charlie could say, his voice thick with emotion. Now he knew for sure he could feel again because his heart was breaking, and he could feel the tears pouring down his cheeks. "It's all smoke and mirrors," Randall said from close by. "Say, is that barbecue I smell?" Charlie couldn't speak so he just nodded. A useless gesture in this endless void but he just couldn't find his voice again as the memories flooded his brain threatening to overload it completely. It was so real he could almost taste the steak cooking nearby. A pinprick of light appeared way off in the distance. Although it was the merest dot in the nothingness, the endless darkness lightened a touch and as his eyes began to adjust to this new sensation Charlie could make out vague shapes in the gloom around him. Was that the hint of a tree he could see? Shifting shadows moving back and forth, little more than smudges of gray against the black, but if he concentrated he could make out they were half-formed figures, little more than outlines, the rumor of substance really but growing more substantial moment by moment. Charlie felt something between the toes of his bare feet and looked down to see he was standing on grass. He moved his foot over the top of the blades and sure enough they tickled his soul. The sensation, coming as it did so close on the back of numbness, was electrifying. That's when the pinprick of light exploded, flooding Charlie's starved vision into overload, instantly illuminating the scene all around him in vivid detail. He cried out and instinctively threw his arms up to protect his eyes. The sudden contrast to the darkness hit him like an almost physical assault. He reeled back a step and nearly lost his footing. Jesus! Jesus! But gradually as he stood there panting, his vision began to adjust so he could slowly lower his arms and gingerly open his eyes. Even before they could take it all in, Charlie Walker knew exactly where he was. Charlie was standing in his Uncle Benny's garden on a bright summer's day, looking across the lawn at his 12-year-old self playing cricket with his twin sister, Kate, and his dad. Seeing his dad in better, healthier times just compounded how well he had looked the last time Charlie went to see him in that god-awful hospital. He couldn't help but smile as his dad bowled a tame underarm throw to his sister, who was standing in front of the wicket holding the oversized bat awkwardly in both hands. She swung wildly and hit the ball, more out of luck than judgment. "Catch it!" Young Charlie shouted from his place behind the wicket, but his dad dived theatrically at what should have been an easy catch and just missed as the ball bounced away and into a nearby flower bed. "Dad?" The youngster protested as his sister squealed in delight and set off running. Oh, Christ, Charlie had to look away. The whole scene was just so hyper-real, a waking dream the colors of which were a little too vivid. The sound, though clear, was just a frame or two out of sync, slightly bassy and laced with reverb. It was like watching a dodgy DVD knockoff of a favorite movie he had seen a million times before. The sunlight filtering through the bright green trees felt real enough, and Charlie hadn't realized just how warm it was on his upturned face until he felt a coldness creep up behind him and linger just over his shoulder. "So, this is what you dream about so often?" Randall said, his voice like everything else here just the wrong side of real. Charlie nodded, once more transfixed by the game being played out in front of him. "Quite the scene of domestic bliss," the American continued. "Only in dreams, huh?" "No," Charlie protested. "All this really happened. This was real." "Real?" "Yes." Charlie finally turned to Randall, who looked like a dark shadow in this technicolor landscape, and was about to protest further when he caught sight of two other people sitting on deck chairs on a patio by the house just behind the American, slightly obscured, as if deliberately for effect, by his body. Charlie was vaguely aware that Randall smiled seeing his reaction, but his attention was focused on the spectators. Jesus God, how could he have forgotten about them? Randall stepped aside, firstly to reveal his favorite uncle, Benny, clapping and shouting encouragement to the players, and then further still to reveal Uncle Benny's only sister. "Mom." The word caught like a stone in Charlie's throat. Then an instant later he was on his knees in the grass before he even felt like falling, the shock taking his legs right from under him. He heaved as the shock turned to nausea and tasted bile at the back of his throat. Of course she was here, as she always was when he dreamed this place. But seeing her in such vivid detail robbed him of both balance and breath in a broken heartbeat. He gasped and shook his head, which made him swoon all the more, but still managed to curse. "You bastard! Why always this day?" Randall wanted to know. He was towering over Charlie now, his features half drawn and colorless. We were happy then," Charlie gasped. It was all too real now. He could even smell the grass up close as he sucked in lungful after lungful of air. "Don't you really want to know why this place and time?" Randall asked and drifted over to where Uncle Benny and his beloved mother were sitting. "Don't you touch her," Charlie shouted, surprised at the venom in his own voice. He hauled himself to his feet. "It's okay," Randall said as he knelt down in front of Charlie's mother. "We're just observers here, Charlie. I couldn't touch her even if I wanted to." The American smiled as Charlie's mother burst out laughing at young Charlie's outrage at his father's blatant cheating. At the time he remembered his mother's laughter as music, but now, here with the memory of what was to come, it sounded like loss and left a bitter feeling in the pit of his stomach. A once beautiful sound decayed by her soon-to-be revealed oncoming death. Charlie felt his legs threaten to give way again, but by sheer force of will he managed to stagger over to the patio and drop to his knees next to Randall, who seemed to be closely studying her beautiful face. She laughed again and Charlie was almost physically sick with grief. "Do you want to know what I can see?" Randall asked Charlie as he leaned forwards until he was within a foot of his mother's face. For a horrible moment, Charlie thought that Randall was moving to kiss her, but he just looked at her frowning. "Huh?" he added, getting no response, but Charlie barely heard him. Now he was this close to her, he was lost in her brown eyes. The collector let the moment play out, son and beloved lost mother so close together again, it was so bitter he could almost taste it. Then as the seconds bled by he actually thought he heard Charlie's heart break. "Now that was a beat you could dance to. I can see what's really going on," Randall finally said, his voice as light as smoke. "Deep down, under the surface of all this bliss." Charlie let out a sob and gave the slightest shake of his head. "Look at her face, Charlie, smiling, so happy. Why this moment?" The repeated question dragged Charlie away from his mother's eyes. He turned to Randall and answered. "This is my happiest moment," he said, then added without thinking, "before it all went bad. The beginning of the end." "Come on, look at her face, closely." "What do you see?" Randall asked. It was an easy demand to obey. He looked back at her. "There's nothing there. Just happiness." "There," Randall exclaimed. "That look, deep within her eyes." "No." Charlie suddenly felt chilled to the bone. He had caught the merest hint of something in her eyes, something he had never noticed before. Had he? Something. Desolate. "I didn't see anything," he lied. "You saw it. Plain as day." Bullshit. Charlie desperately wanted to turn away, to forget he'd seen anything but love in those eyes, but he couldn't. "She's just a little tired, that's all." "Now who's bullshitting? Let's watch it again, then tell me she's just tired." Randall passed the palm of his hand over Charlie's mother's face, and for a heartbeat everything froze. Sound, vision, it was as if he had hit the pause button on this nightmare movie Charlie was starring in. When Randall brought his hand away, everything had skipped back a fraction. "Randall, please," Charlie said weakly. He couldn't bear to see that look again, not so close, not from a million miles away. He bit down hard on his lip to suppress the fresh round of sobs that were bubbling up in his throat and tasted blood for it. But still he couldn't look away as that shadow bloomed deep within her eyes again, but this time it was clear, right in front of him in all its sickening high-definition horror. It was death. "Please," Charlie breathed. "Stop this." "Stop what?" Randall goaded. "You said you didn't see anything." "Fuck you." Charlie screamed and tore himself away from her. He rose unsteadily to his feet and stumbled away. "Bastard." Randall didn't move, he just looked deeper into her eyes. "Come on, Charlie. Look into her eyes." "No, goddammit." He looked away and across the lawn, anywhere but at her and the unmasked decay in her face. He saw his dad pick up Kate and swing her around, much to her delight. It almost warmed his frozen heart, but then he caught sight of his young self still standing behind the wicket. The boy was looking at his mother sitting there and could quite clearly see through the veil of happiness to that horrible darkness Charlie himself had just glimpsed. The kid could see the shadow of death falling across her face. He was frowning, all thought of the game gone for a moment. Charlie froze. The boy had seen it. Charlie, aged 12, had seen what was coming all those years ago. How could he have forgotten? Had he not known at the time what it meant, but somehow buried it deep within his subconscious only for this bastard of a yank to unlock it here in this living nightmare? Charlie? It was his father, both of them. Man and boy looked his way. "Come here, mate," he beckoned the boy over. Charlie almost took a step towards him himself, but stopped as the boy, all thoughts of death forgotten, broke into a grin and sprinted over to his dad before rugby tackling him to the floor where they rolled about in a play fight. "You did that on purpose." The 12-year-old protested as they rolled around on the grass. "Jesus." Charlie watched all this through tears. He screwed his eyes tight shut and pressed his hands over his ears to block out the laughter which was cutting through him like a knife. "Get out of my head," he screamed at the top of his lungs. But even with his eyes shut, those two devastating looks, his mother's and his young self, were seared onto his mind's eye.